Last week we got a demo from Antoine. What was it about? We got a demo from Antoine.
Page size in the admin.
Page size.
And
we, yep.
Options. The media options page.
Yep. Page size. Media options.
Sébastien?
Yep.
Maybe I have a little demo.
Ooh, for the first time ever, Jean-Thierry is joining us. Okay, so last week did nothing. This week, Dean is on strike. Lockdown, Dean? Okay, maybe Dean is busy something. But we have Jean-Thierry.
Some little things around the distributed service.
Okay, thank you. Dean, when you're back, feel free to tell us if you have demos. So demos, anyone else? Okay, so status. Starting with Orchard 1. We merged, well, we approved some PR, so they've been merged, preventing null reference exceptions for null text. I think this was the localization change. Yep, localization change that could issue a null reference. There's a PR going on, we'll look into that. On Thursday, OrchardCore. Here from the 15th. What time this was done? Then add shortcode to glossary. So in the documentation, what is a shortcode? Small piece of code wrapped into brackets that can add some behavior to content editors, like embedding media files. Okay, the link to that. Okay, glossary. Restrict content type admin menu to only create the specified content type. I remember there was an issue for that. Content types, content type ID, and here just to which ones you can create for the content item list and for the menu item which had the same issue. Good. Delete default content storage managers test, which is all commented out, an old file from 5 years ago, 4 years ago, let's say. Fixes tenant lazy config deadlock, tenant lazy config deadlock.
It's about the lazy config of a specific tenant config because it is lazily done. I needed to use a distinct semaphore.
Okay.
I don't remember all the detail, but there is a scenario with a deadlock when I was working on distributed service.
Okay. Update blob storage to search folder hierarchies. include subdirectories. Where is that? Oh, it's there. It was there already. Return get directory content flat. Okay. Some refactoring to also fix the issue. So what did we say about this one? I think this one is good, right? There.
Yeah, I think we decided that that we were using that in a few other places, and it had been used in blob storage previously, so I didn't really want to change it. There's some differences on case handling, I think, maybe with the other one.
Yeah, so this one is coming from System.Web, which was confusing. And when we say this one, we mean that there is another one called HTTP utility that has a URL code, URL code also. But they handle the casing differently. So apparently we need to use this one. Okay. Add nav link classes to content item menu links in the agency and the themes. Menu item, content menu item. So this is to override the default one, I assume. Content menu item. Nav link. So what does it do? Or is it just to comply with the theme? That if you don't do that, the menu item won't be. Oh, because it's a content menu item part. I see. So it's a custom content menu item template. This new thing. Okay, so custom template for content menu items for the themes. This one for the theme and agency theme. And this one has multi-level support. Okay, rename, this old one. Rename SMTP admin menu into email. Yes, my point about renaming SMTP to email in order to make it simpler to understand that this is about email was that, well, if you don't understand what SMTP is, you won't be able to edit the settings in this SMTP screen. So it doesn't matter to change it to email. However, another counter argument, which I agree with, is that it has more than just SMTP. It has also like test email and stuff for email in general, not just SMTP settings. So that's fine. Easier to read. Okay, change the group also and the links. Text. Fix rule search, toggle message visibility if no results. So it was wrong. When you search for, you can search for roles and it was showing the wrong stuff. Okay. Update resource docs for resource docs, re-referencing TagHelpers. This is just a dot. And then when using TagHelpers in Razor, you must take a direct reference to OrchardCore resource management. Okay. Otherwise, the TagHelpers won't work. This is the one where it works in debug mode, but not in release or development/production because of the way we load them dynamically or not.
Yeah, that's the one, and it just keeps coming up. So I was doing something else and thought I'd add that note there for people.
view draggable resource version. Okay, updated the doc and the version. And while we are at it, I saw some issue/PR about updating Vue.js 2.3.0.
Yes.
And is someone working on that? Is that something easy?
No, I agree with Jean-Philippe saying we should wait a few weeks or a few months.
They will find issues.
Yeah, and the dependencies will be updated to work accordingly with the 3.0 version.
Oh yes, because all the plugins that we use that are not compatible probably. I see. Okay, so but there is an issue tracking it, so that's good. And Vue.js 3.0 is supposed to be lighter and faster, so hopefully it will help. Fix OrchardCore.Media.Core project path.
There were 2 levels of OrchardCore.Media.Core.
Oh, is it Dean? We did that, Dean.
Probably.
Is it a new mode? Is it a new? No, I'm not sure if it's a new.
No, it's been there for ages. So
okay, so that's
spotting
me.
whoever spotted that.
OrchardCore.Media. Either me or Matthias. We didn't see that. That's okay. Just
no, I think this one is me. I did make that project just a while ago.
Yeah, interesting. Okay, cool. And upgrade code mirror to 5.58. Because look at that, 58 is much better than 57 in so many ways that we have to upgrade. So we'll trust them on this one. Last one, toggles password visibility on login form. Okay, so we can see the password that we type. And this is the, what page is that? The default code mirror. That. So this one I understand. So requiring font awesome to be able to provide a little eye icon. Wow. Okay, but this one, what is that?
The setup.
But why is this file called styles src? Or is that a bug? Index.cshtml and the folder you see.
You can see in /setup.
Okay, so that's a bug in info. Okay, good. Okay, cool. So on the setup screen also, but on the setup screen we have it already, don't we?
I think we had it for the connection string when you're typing in your connection string, but maybe not for the password. So good to have it for the password.
Okay, I get it. Cool. Good job.
Yeah, Sébastien.
Mm-hmm.
About TagHelper, in development mode, we don't need to reference them because rather view are compiled at runtime. So in the context of the application, that reference all assembly. But in production, we use embedded view. So they have been built pre-compiled in the context of the module.
And
that's why the module need to reference explicitly the assembly who's defined TagHelper.
Yeah, and we could expect the Razor compilation to find that it's not there, but actually the TagHelper resolution itself is dynamic. So it can't assume that when you type a tag, this comes from a TagHelper. It's just that if the assembly is referenced, then it will come from
Yeah.
the tag helper, but it might just
And
be.
yes, exactly. And we don't see this in development because the application reference all the things.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, if it was a razor component, it would be different. Maybe one day we'll just have razor components. We'll see. Questions, comments? Did I miss anything in the chat? Good. Demos. Dean, you didn't say if you had demos, just Chantieri. Do you have one?
Yeah. I'll do a little demo after John 3. Assuming my mouse doesn't die because the battery is very, very flat.
Okay, Jean-Thierry, you want to start? So you just share your screen and.
Okay. Let me know when you see my screen.
Okay.
Yeah, we can see you soon. I'm not sure if Sebastian's back yet.
Okay. So I didn't prepare it completely. It's not very demonstrative, but I just ran 2 instances of OrchardCore. So I will start this one. I publish one in another folder. Not this one. This one. Okay, let it start. And the other one.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, sorry, I had to switch headset. I had an issue. Just checking it's working. Okay.
And this one with a different port. You can see here. Okay. Oh, I make a mistake because I didn't prepare it. So first, I have run Docker, and I will start a Redis instance. So I only use the distribute cache feature based on Redis. In this demo, it is running. Then in Visual Studio, I need a kind of stateless configuration. So I will need to republish it. Sorry. So here, it's part of the demonstration of the demo. Here in startup, I will use this. Sorry. So this is the tenant setting from the database. In app setting, sorry, my computer is slow. So here is a Redis config. So this config, it is just a configuration string. So here is just an IP address, and here an option. And you can see on this, it is in the current app setting in the dev branch. You can see this link, all the options you can have. So for the configuration, it's quite easy. And I will uncomment this one because I use the shell database. Okay. And I need a connection string.
I will just comment on the shell database because it might not be clear for everyone. By default, all the tenants, they are defined in a local file, right? And when you have two instances running, well, you need to move the tenants in a shared location. So in this case, we don't store on the file system, but with the feature you are enabling here, the shells database, it's saving the tenants in the database so that every instance will see the same thing, the same list of tenants.
Exactly. So here is the configuration. I have Redis. What else? Ah, yes, and in the demonstration, maybe I will create a tenant and set up it to see if it keeps in sync. So I need, if I use the block 10, I need in the recipe to not use the file content definition. So all content definition will be stored in the database because I want a stateless configuration. So that's okay. Now, so, I stop this one.
And while it's deploying, question for everyone interested is, so why do we use the file system for all these things by default? Because it's easier. Well, I get it, yeah. So while I'm asking the question, I realized that, for instance, for the file content definition, we actually were in the database at first, but we decided to go by default on the file system because it's easier for source code management and to share the new types in a database. The app settings, same. So we can save it easily, but at the same time, well, yeah, maybe for the same reasons as the file content.
Ask me if the default. I'm not sure of the best default configuration. Is it better to have it in the file system or database by default?
I'm just wondering if we should have everything in database by default. But while I was asking the question, I realized that we decided to change to the file system. So maybe it will be good to have some kind of template or procedure to make it easier to run something which is everything in database when we want to have this this scenario that you are demonstrating with different instances later. I let you go on.
We might consider doing something with the SAS recipe for that, perhaps.
What did you suggest with recipes? The custom recipe?
With the SAS recipe would probably suit that a little bit more.
Yes, that would be one option. But at the same time, so yes, the SAS recipe might be on the database one. That would totally make sense, I think, because if you have a SAS recipe, well, SAS is more to have multiple tenants. It doesn't mean that you want multiple instances, but at least have a dedicated recipe called maybe distributed, which will use the SAS and will be distributed. Or have SAS and SAS distributed, something like that. Or should we have, I wanted to say parameterized recipes where you could select a recipe and then have a step which is, by the way, use this sub recipe that will actually remove the content, the local content definition and enable that and that and that. But yeah, that's hard. And also it's not just about recipes, because as you saw in the startup, we need to change the services that we register, right, for the shells. So it's not just the recipes, but that will at least help like that. I don't know. I'm sure we'll find some better way, or develop something. Because here the issue is that the chicken and egg, because you need to store the connection string to the database before you enter the setup to detect if you have tenants. Or at least in the setup, we know that we have a custom shell source that is nothing, so it has to go to the setup screen. But right after that, if it's the default tenant, it should use a connection string as the shell database connection string, because these are two different things, where we store all the tenants and where each tenant stores its data.
Yes, it may be two different connection string, and in this demo, it is the same.
So maybe it's actually a different module that we could do that would take over the setup screen and be a first screen where you type the connection string of the database that will contain the tenants, something like that. And then when it's set up, then you can say, okay, now you want to create a default tenant. Where should we store the default tenant? And then you can, if you want, reuse the same database or another one. Okay, well, so good, just thinking out loud.
As I remember, I already did a setup with this configuration already in the app setting, and it was working. I needed effectively to use this, and having this if I want, and having this here. It was working.
So where are we now? Did you publish the app?
Sorry?
Have you published the app already? Is it ready?
I don't remember. Maybe yes, I think.
What you are doing right now, you are publishing the app.
Yes, it is published. I run it this is the app, and here where I publish it, I published it, and I will run both.
So we have 5,100 and okay, 5,000 and 5,100 ports. Okay, 2 ports.
Oh, not the right. Sorry. Just press this one. So the first one, and nothing will work. I didn't try it just now. And this one with 5101. They are both starting. Yes, before forgetting, I also enable Redis data protection. Okay.
Okay, and the idea with the Redis data protection is that all the keys to encrypt and decrypt the authentication cookies are stored in a common location, which is in this case Redis.
Yes. I forgot something. So normally I am.
It works, at least right now. We can see the same page.
Yes, it didn't ask me for.
But even without Redis, it was already working before. So now the actual demo will be to update something somewhere and to see it appearing on the other one. Even total discussion.
I refresh. Sorry.
No, it's okay.
I will flush my Redis cache because I did some recent change and the key are not the same. So okay. So let's see if it works about what I can do. I have a template. I name it layout. Okay, and see in the other instance. Okay, it works. So I can change it here now. and rename it. Okay, and now here. Okay, so tenant and tick, and now I will go to the tenant page. Here I need to refresh. That's okay. Okay. So yeah, so it's not very demonstrative because if you open two windows of the same instance, you will see the same things, but it's not the same port. Okay. So first thing, I will do this one, and this one. I will disable them. Okay. I will refresh this one, and I can see them disabled. I will re-enable it. Okay. Go to the other instance, and they are running. What can I do? I will.
Did you create a new tenant?
Yes.
I didn't see it. Okay, sorry.
I will.
Maybe it's the frame rate. I missed something, but it's okay. I trust you. And does it? I
will do it. I will do it. Alors,
can you go to the page then?
Tenant 11. Does it exist? 11? No.
Try 50. Yeah, sure, it's unique.
50. Yes, you're right.
Or type a GUID, whatever. And then you need a prefix, yeah.
URL prefix. Recipe, I will use blog because I didn't change the agency recipe. SQL Server. This the same. And here also I need a tab prefix because I work on the same database.
It's very important here because if you take SQLite, there will be an issue because
Yes.
I mean, yeah, it can't work. It has to be.
You can use SQLite to, if you want in a non-distributed environment, if you just want content definition in database. But with SQLite, you are right. You can share the. So all is okay. I create the tenant. Where is my alphabetic order? It is here, uninitialized. If I go there, and it will not work. It is here, and now I will set up it from this instance, or this I create from this one, and I will set up it from this one. So. Better from this one because it pre-fills the. Maybe if I ask here, it will say it is initializing, but I didn't try. I will try
later. But that's a good demo. Okay, now you go back.
No, from this one, if I refresh, it will be running. Where it is running, and normally it works.
Beautiful. So here, the idea is that what's important is that
I can demonstrate other things if you want. You can ask me. I can change an auto route or other things.
I want to explain what happened is that the tenant was registered in one instance, and then the second instance is aware of the tenant also and all the settings and can serve the pages from this tenant. And without distributed services, they don't know because they are not refreshed. But here they are. There is a message that is sent from one tenant to the other to say, hey, the list of tenants changed. So you need to refresh your tenants table so you can serve this tenant. That's the key here.
Just one point. You say the message it's like, but I didn't use message bus or this message. I used I will not talk about all the things, but I used a shell hosted service, which meaning it runs in the background, but it's not a true background service, the one we already have. It's another one because it has an idle time of only 1 second. And if there is, it just grab where it is. It just grab there is some identifier, but it grab one to see if not this one, if something had changed. But so periodically, it only grab only one identifier. In most of the time, only one identifier say there is something to do. But afterwards, each shell has two identifiers. It has, like in this little class, it has a release identifier and a rollout identifier. So most of the time we are doing nothing. And if we need to do something without talking about all the detail, if one identifier change, here you can see from a given tenant, we release it or we reload it.
Okay, so it's pinging the Redis instance every second to see if there is a tenant change.
Yes, but yes, he grab one identifier. I have some little notes. So there is a little network activity. It depends. If you have 10 instances, all the instances will ask.
Each host is requesting Redis to check if there is a new tenant like this. Okay, interesting.
Alors with message bus, I did a little quick comparison. I think as we do here there is more network activity, but we just read the document identifier each second. With the message bus, we will have channel listening. So about processor time, maybe it's quite the same, but less network activity. But what I saw, it's with message bus, it's less consistent if network failure. But with this one, actually, if there is a network failure or Redis is down, actually we have to discuss on this. The last tweets we could have. Actually, I stopped the service, so you have to restart the application. But what we could do if we can't connect to Redis, maybe we wait 1 second and retry, and after 10 seconds, and so maybe we could have a retry logic. So with the ability to reload the tenant from the admin.
It's more reliable, at least it works. So, and it's just 1 ping per second per host, which should be small. It's a weird choice, but it's more reliable. That's what you say. Okay.
Yes, because we rely on state. An event. I like the event-oriented way, but you can miss an event. But state, you stop your app, you restart it. It will see it will check the
Yeah, so
current state.
for tenants, it's important to be reliable. Okay, I see.
And,
good. Okay, anything else you want to show?
sorry.
So what is that? Which branch is that? Which PR is that? And then I have
I can show you like changing autoroute.
No, we trust you. We'll test it offline.
Okay.
I'll try it also because we want to see Dean's demo also. But that's great. That's a huge achievement already. I assume there are other services that will need to be distributed, like Lucene, that is not distributed. Well,
yes, I have some little thing on my notes. Quite all the things are, all services are distributed aware. I made the autoroute. Yes, it was not before in the same way. So you can charge an autoroute in one instance, and it's up to date in the other one. And in my note, where it is, sorry. Yes, I have. I don't remember the detail, but it's all the things that use the same file system, and they use file for caching or for media cache, Smtp cache, and Lucene indexes. One idea I have, maybe in other PR, is to do distributed command. If we agree that in a distributed environment we can't have multiple instances on the same file system, we could have at least distributed command, for example, to purge the media cache, or to purge the Smtp cache, or to reset, rebuild Lucene indexes. This is where I am.
Okay. That's great. Thank you. Awesome. Yeah, you will just say later, but I don't want you to go on more details on that.
Yes.
The next step also is to support different strategies for tenant distribution, meaning that when you create a tenant, it could decide by itself which hosts should be able to serve the tenant.
Yes, I remember. OrchardCore cluster.
Yeah, so right now, when you create a tenant, every host has the tenant. So if you have 1,000 tenants, every host supports the 1,000 tenant. And it doesn't scale out very well because at some point you hit a limit, and adding a new machine doesn't solve the issue. It will just duplicate all the tenants in the same machine, on all the machines. But something we talked about and we designed, and that I'm sure you will do at some point, is a way to be able to change how tenants are hosted on different host instances, such that you could say that if you have 3 instances, you have 50% of each tenant on all instances, so that you have redundancy for everything. So one tenant is always on 2 machines, but it's distributed with the algorithm you want. So you don't have to maintain all the tenants on every host. And this way you can really scale out and just add more servers to support more load, because they will never fill up with all the tenants, just the ones they can support. Just the load they can support. That would be great. And I'm sure that should not be very, very hard to implement with what you just did now.
I remember I started working on it one or 2 years ago.
Yes.
By using
Yeah.
By using a proxy.
Yeah, the design is.
I just tried autoroute. I changed it in one instance.
Thank you.
Because I don't know in English.
Thank you very much, Tanchai. Awesome. Thank you.
Okay. No problem.
Tim, you still have time.
Okay, quick little demo from me as well then. So just a quick demo on ImageSharp and media, because ImageSharp, we have released a manufacturer over the weekend. So there's a bunch of new features that that came through with that, and we'd like to take advantage of them. So there's a couple of new features here. First off, we made it a whole load faster, so thanks Sebastian for doing a whole load of benchmarking on it. But the middleware itself is now a lot faster, which is great. And
did you experience it? Did you see the difference?
I actually have, because I do most of my work with or testing with blob storage, and the agency page, when it renders for the first time, has a lot of images on it, and it just comes through a bit faster. It's good.
So the idea is that when James wanted to release the RC of ImageSharp, you wanted just to check the performance, just as a check before releasing. So I met with him, and during 1 hour we defined the benchmark and we ran it, because that's what I do in the ASP.NET team. I run benchmarks, so it was easy. And he already had a sample app that was working, so we just had to tweak something there, and it was working. And we realized that under load, it could generate, well, it could serve 2,000 images per second. It was just a sample image, a resized image already cached, right? 2,000 per second. But if we were pointing to a static file, it would be like 50,000 per second. So the cost of serving a pre-resized file was huge, 2,000 versus 50,000. And then he worked on some different logs, and then Dean helped him to find the reason of the logs by removing the logs. And now we are at 60,000 requests per second, meaning 60,000 files served per second, which is the limit of the file system, actually. So the throughput is the file system. The network is the bottleneck is the file system. So that's good. So and also the latency is much better. Like instead of having an average of 100 millisecond latency, it's like now less than 1 millisecond latency. That's huge. So the perf under load, actually, or under multiple requests at the same time, you should see the difference. The server will see the difference, at least, maybe not you, but the server will see it. So that's great.
Yeah, and it's important as well, because we've done some analysis on the amount of static files our servers serve, and when we're serving a kind of just general OrchardCore website, you know, about 75% of the traffic is taken up with serving media files rather than the content, because content is so image heavy these days. So we made it faster. There's a new feature as well to support quality support on JPEG encoding, which means you can reduce, during the resizing process, you can specify a compression percentage, which will allow you to just kind of tweak the quality a little bit and reduce the file sizes. And in order to take advantage of that, you have to use the JPEG encoder. So you can also now convert, say, a PNG file to a JPEG automatically by specifying that you want a JPEG format out.
So I don't get it. Before that, if your image was a JPEG, the output was a JPEG, you could not convert it?
We didn't have support. The support was there in ImageSharp, but we actually just didn't have support in our TagHelpers to support that command.
But the file name will be PNG, but you can serve a JPEG content with the correct MIME type. That's what you say? Yeah.
So the content comes back correctly as a image-JPEG, but the file name, because of course it's not a redirect.
Because the file itself is speaking the same extension as the source file. And I assume it's a limitation from ImageSharp, because ideally you could be able to say, well, create a file with this extension, right?
You could, but you'd then have to do a redirect to that file name. So you'd actually have to send a redirect back to the browser.
Oh, I don't agree.
Because the browser has requested a .jpeg file.
No, I don't agree, because I see.
So, for example, if we were to look at the source file here.
Yeah, unless you actually request a file that doesn't exist, and just the query arguments will tell it what's the actual file that is converting. But okay, that's just
yeah. You could do that. It becomes a little bit of weirdness, but because it gets returned with the correct bind type, the browser handles it essentially. There was a change to the culture settings so that you can now use current culture for the commands. I've not brought that through to Orchard because mostly that was around using things like pi in, say, a French language where the decimal places are using commas. But because most of our resizing and processing is based on templates, which are culture invariant, I'm not seeing a huge benefit for that one. But it was one of the breaking changes. So I did that, and then I've been working on a site recently and found that if I look at this, there's a bit too many things that you have to specify on your image tag now, and I thought I might just do a little media profiles.
profiles. Oh.
Profiles. Currently, at the moment, I have probably 3 or 4, maybe 4 or 5 shapes for the media field, which tend to have, and I add some alternates in. I have one for the banner. I have one for a kind of medium-sized image. I have one for a small image.
So do you remember what we said about profiles, if they were good and we'll do it later, or if we said they were bad and we will not do it?
I don't remember, but I found
a comment
somewhere
that it was definitely good to have.
No, we don't ask for your opinion, Soteris. We're just asking what's the actual truth. Like I know when we created the media feature, because we have it in Orchard 1, and it's beautiful, and it's even much more powerful in Orchard 1 because you can do filters and stuff. It's crazy. So it's too crazy actually. So I assume here is just simple profiles based on ImageSharp.
So here it's simple profiles, and I actually did them because I've been fighting with this a little bit, and I did find a little comment that we might still have profiles. So the profiles I built are quite simple. They just have the standard kind of resizing options that we have with ImageSharp, and it means that in your templates, if I find the template for...
Ooh, and you can only pick the width and height that are supported.
Exactly, which just makes it easier. And one of the problems that I have is I'm often developing the start of a website off a wireframe. So all I have is a hint that I'm going to need an image that might be kind of around this big. But by the time the designs come through, the designs change it and suddenly it's this big. So it's a lot more useful if I can define my templates up front and say, just use this medium-ish profile, and then later on I can just go through and tweak it and say, well, actually that needs to be 600 wide, not 480. Or I can add in some more specific sizes to fit a kind of 16:9 or a 4:3 type ratio. So the idea is you could just go in and as an option, just say, that's going to be a medium-sized image. And I've left it able to then continue passing extra parameters if you want to tweak that image, particularly in that particular place. For example, on this template, we use a stretch mode on these ones with the same size, and on somewhere else down here, we use the max mode because they're a slightly different shape, essentially.
Sorry, I was I was not focusing on what your demo. So there is the resize URL filter, and then there is this profile property is new.
Profile property is new.
And the mode is the old one, so you can override a profile. That's what you're saying?
So you can override a profile, or you can override a property in a profile.
Thank you.
Or
that's
you
what
can,
I didn't get. Okay.
Yeah, or you can decide, for example, that you're not going to set a resize mode, and you'll always choose to add it or not, fall back to the default. So none of these properties are required as such, but if they're present,
okay.
You know, if you don't specify a width, you don't get a width.
But ImageSharp always has a default for everything here, right? So why not just put the ImageSharp default as the default?
So the only one that we actually have as a default is a resize mode of max. Nothing else in ImageSharp actually has a default. If you specify a width, then you get a width. If you don't specify a width, that just bases it off the height.
So I will rename undefined by default, and in parentheses the value that it will use.
Yeah, we could do that. That makes sense.
Because otherwise it's like, so what will it take? And if I select undefined, but you can say, yeah, default. Yeah, I would prefer that, to say default, and the default value that will be taken.
I mean, at the moment, this is just out of the an enum. So to add a few more details to it makes sense. So all this does when you actually render it at the moment, if we look at the agency theme, which is just easier to see. You see on this one here, just as an example, I've dropped the quality really low.
100 is low. Okay, that's not obvious. We need more hints. For me, like 100 will be like 100%, like super top quality.
Okay, we can add some more hints there. Right, yep, that's the 10. Cool. There's the window. Yeah, so we can add some more hints, and I need to put in a comment that if you put it to 0 or 100, then it's not going to do anything, because 100 it won't process it, and 0 is just, it's not going to produce an image. So it gets ignored. But I'm not sure how well
quality only works with JPEG, right?
Quality only works with JPEG at the moment. You know, I know the ImageSharp guys are also working on supporting other formats, WebP and the like, which will be good. I'm not sure how well you'll see that on Skype, just how low the quality is. Yeah, but trust me, when it's pretty bad.
We're not using Skype, that's okay. We're using Teams.
Oh, wow, Teams. Maybe Teams has got good quality. But if we set that to, say, a 50, and I have to clear this cache, then you've reduced the image, the size, quite a lot. And the quality is pretty good. Like, the quality is reasonable. It's just nothing about that you wouldn't like. I popped the same thing on the blog theme here, and this background image here has dropped from 1 meg to 260K or something. So I've set a size on it and dropped the quality just a little bit.
Right.
So all this will do at the moment is it's not tied as such to ImageSharp. It just converts the profile into a good query string. Like normally, or not normally, but back in Orchard 1 we had this. It would be more /profile and the profile name and an identifier to identify it.
That's good.
But I think this is better because this means we can do the overrides easier.
And then if you change the value, the URL should change, so the cache should work actually.
Exactly. So that breaks the cache, which just makes it
yeah, it makes sense.
Nice and simple and easy. Yeah, so that's just a little feature that I was thinking.
And Soteris agrees, and Soteris know a thing or two about big websites with lots of images. So that's good.
Excellent. It just makes things a little bit easier.
Awesome.
To kind of manage this.
Perfect. Thank you.
And
I like the style.
Thing...
I like the style, like simple list, title, description, edit button, beautiful, right?
Easy. It's a consistent style, isn't it?
Yeah.
So sorry, JT, that's another one that'll need a distributed cache.
No, well, actually, why? No, I don't. I kind of not agree a lot with that, because each instance has its own local cache by default, and that's fine. Yes, we can implement a distributed cache for that, but I don't think it's necessary at all. It's a niche feature, I think. Updating the cache, like clearing the cache, yes.
Clearing the cache is probably the better point. Because a cache like this will remain on the local host, and it's only just about clearing it on the other ones. Cool. The one last thing that I'm probably going to add to this PR as well, if we agree on all the design stuff, which is good, is probably just to extend this image tag helper to handle source sets, because I'm needing to do a bit of source sets at the moment, and.
This tag helper or a different one?
It will probably be a new tag helper. I might base class it, but it just needs to handle a different target, or I may be able to get away with just.
And why do we need a different tag helper and not just type the HTML and the source set will point to a different image? Oh, I see. Because the tag itself needs to be different. I see.
Because the tag, it's not the target element so much as the tag that we write to. But that's mine. I'll sort that out. I think we'll do a little base class or something for them so that we can make it easy.
Or do you really need a base class, or do you just need to go at the top in the attributes? Can't you just trigger it with the img tag or the source set tag and be done?
I can, but down here, when we write to it, we're setting specific attributes. So it's a little bit messy to know which attribute you came in on.
Sure. Yeah. If you know that it's the source set tag, then you don't need that.
Well, the attribute we need to set there is the source set.
That's what I'm saying. You can just check what is the current tag source set, then we'll see. Okay, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I.
It just gets a little messy, so just keeping it clean in the code, not too many ifs.
Okay. Good. Thank you. Awesome.
Cool.
I just pasted the picture source. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If you look at the chat, if you have the source tag, then you need to generate the src set attribute. So I'm sure it's just one if. Well, there are other attributes to set, but whatever. Yeah, 2 classes maybe, and reuse some stuff. Okay, maybe I'm wrong. We'll see. Depends. As long as it's done, it's better. I don't care. Thanks everyone for the demos. There is a third demo, but that will be done tomorrow. Tomorrow morning. On the MS Ignite. So watch MS Ignite, maybe tomorrow afternoon for others. The keynote from Scott Hanselman at MS Ignite tomorrow. I'm not saying what it is. I'm not sure actually. I haven't seen it, but I've heard. So you should watch the keynote tomorrow for MS Ignite from Scott Hanselman. There should be some Orchard inside. There should. I haven't seen. I'm not sure. I've heard. Until it's done, it's not done, right? So we'll see, just to let you know. And that's it. Questions, comments? See you on Thursday. or next Tuesday. Thanks everyone. Bye bye.
Thank you.